So what is this place again, Sonny? Castle Oblivion, a special castle where its white roofs will reflect your memories and allow you to live past events as well as see people from your past. Sounds like fun. What's the catch? Well, it's guarded by men in black hoods, as well as the fact that if you stay here too long, you eventually become an amnesiac, senile jerk. But considering it's you we're dealing with, you should be okay. If we call you you, Sonny, I think I'll hit the Fortress of Fun that's across the street. Only an idiot and his nitwit friends would ever visit a place like this. Hello and greetings everyone, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and this is my channel, and if you can't tell from that stupid opening I just put together, today I'm going to be doing a review on Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, or I should say RE Chain of Memories and the high definition port found in Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix. Now if you don't know what Chain of Memories is, it was created in 2004 for the GBA. It was kind of this middle story that Square Enix needed to make to justify a time skip, because a time skip was going to happen. The two hidden videos at the end of Kingdom Hearts, both our original American version and the Final Mix version, definitely show that there is a time skip. You see an older Riku and Kairi in them. So, Square Enix needed to set that up. Plus, they needed to give something to fans to show that they were working on another Kingdom Hearts and another one was coming and keep the series afloat. What an easier way to do that than put it on the GBA, a very popular portable at the time, and Square Enix did a bang-up job, at least when it came to the GBA version. It had things like actual FMV cutscenes, which were rare. It rendered a lot of the sequences in the original Kingdom Hearts to the GBA and did a really good job of capturing the scenes and the characters from the PS2 version to the GBA. Unfortunately, however, Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 were both released on the PS2 and not the GBA or the Nintendo equivalent, the GameCube. Because of this, not a lot of Kingdom Hearts players were able to experience the GBA version and won a version of it on the PS2. Square Enix released a PS2 version in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, which pissed us off here in America. Why? Well, remember when I said that the original Kingdom Hearts American version release had a whole bunch of extras that the original Japanese version didn't? That's why they released the Final Mix with a few more extras included in, just to give the Japanese more of our package. Well, that didn't happen in Kingdom Hearts 2. There was only 3 months between the Japanese release and the American release, and the only differences between the game is the dialogue. The Japanese version had Japanese dialogue, the American version had English dialogue. Anyways, when they released the Final Mix, not only did they give a whole bunch of extras to Kingdom Hearts 2, they also did a quick port of Chain of Memories onto the PS2. Now this upgrade, the port had a bit of a budget game feel to it. While the original GBA may have pushed that system to its limit, it's obviously not seen here in the PS2 version of RE Chain of Memories. Things like lip syncs being off.
Hey fellers, shouldn't we shut the door behind us before we go?
Things like the video quality being poor can be seen here, as well as just some odd shots. For example, Donald and Goofy disappear in a lot of the shots. So it's obvious from the get-go that Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories is the bargain bin game of the series, and the HD port kind of treats it that way, mainly because I think in order to fix some of the problems with RE Chain of Memories, it would require another ground-up rebuild like the original got, and I don't think Square Enix was going to put the same amount of time in for what is a budget game. Anyways, let's take a look at it and see if it's worth playing. The story in RE Chain of Memories follows Sora a few weeks after the events of the original Kingdom Hearts. I'll try not to spoil too much, but let's just say Sora was not able to get all of his friends back to the island, nor was he able to get Mickey and Donald and Goofy back to their home world, and is still out adventuring trying to fulfill his promise. When he finds a mysterious man in a black coat who leads him to a castle where he promises his friends might be in there, Sora decides to investigate. The man warns that the castle is controlled by cards, will allow him to relive events from the past, but in order to find what he's looking for inside the castle, he will have to lose something. As Sora, Donald, and Goofy venture up the castle's floor, Sora starts to lose his memories. However, he starts to remember a girl he completely forgot from his past named Naminé, and the higher he climbs, the more obsessed he gets with her. Meanwhile, the men in the black coats continue to scheme, and whatever they're scheming probably isn't going to be good for Sora. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Sora, Riku has managed to enter Castle Oblivion's basement. There he decides that he must face all the memories of the darkness that he managed to pick up in the first one if he's ever to return to the realm of light. During the process, he will, of course, learn where that darkness he now possesses comes from and what he must do to get rid of it. Riku's tale is probably a tad bit more interesting as far as a character goes than Sora's. However, it's pretty much the same Kingdom Hearts fare. Light and hope must defeat darkness and despair type stuff that you expect from the typical games. Sora's story is more around memories and of the past. How memories of your past, of your childhood, kind of reflect you as a grown adult, or in Sora's case as a teenager, and reflect your personality. If someone went and changed those memories of your past, the way you might react and deal as a person might completely change. And the game's main story deals with it well. However, I do have one nitpick with the story, and that is the Disney worlds are completely episodic. They don't connect any with the main story outside of one line Sora says in Halloween Town about promising one of the organization members, Axel, that he would find out what the mysteries of Castle Oblivion is, what he's supposed to find on his own. Other than that, they're completely episodic. None of them connect with each other in any meaningful way. You just complete one and leave, and that's all you need to do. You don't really even need to go back to explore anymore after that. And that's my one nitpick with the game's story, is you could remove the Disney's license entirely and probably still have the main story completely unchanged. I guess I should mention that the scenes on the outside of the Disney worlds and the hallways in between are fully voice acted done cutscenes. While I have mentioned that they are kind of butchered, and I'll tell you more about the way they are butchered later, they are fully acted and fit well within the story. However, the cutscenes that happen inside the Disney worlds themselves are not fully voiced. Instead, they play out like this. Yeah, they're text only. As far as dialogue changes coming from the GBA version, the Disney worlds are pretty much 99% the same as far as the dialogue goes. One or two sentences were changed for syntax and to fit them into the dialogue box, but for the most part, ripped right out of the GBA. The hallway cutscenes have been changed a lot. There's been a lot of dialogue replaced and changed. Overall plot still remains the same, but a few words and things are changed. For one thing, Axel does not say his famous and only cuss word that is said in the Kingdom Hearts game. The give me one hell of a show line has been cut for something else, as a lot of Axel's line has been changed to kind of soften up the character a bit. He was a little bit too rough in the original GBA version too, where I thought he would be a main villain in Kingdom Hearts 2 rather than a giant frenemy of Sora. So his character's been changed. Of course, my favorite line change is this one.
The memory's wiles can be cruel. In its silence we forget. In its obsession it binds our hearts.
Now, in the original GBA version, the line was, in its perversion it binds us. Now, the word perversion is not a bad word, nor was it miscorrectly used in that line. However, because we're dealing with a younger audience, and usually when the word perversion or perverted is used, it means naughty and bad things, I can understand why they wanted to change that line in the remake. So let's move into the graphics. It is kind of ironic that the original RE Chain of Memories on the PS2 was better looking than the original PS2 version of Kingdom Hearts, coming at the end of the PlayStation 2's lifespan. Even though it was a budget game, and even though the video quality dropped in those cutscenes in battle and during actual gameplay, the graphics were a bit smoother and you had more camera control than the original. However, now that the original version has pretty much a ground-up rebuild, RE Chain of Memories just now looks plain awful going from the original high-definition version of Final Mix. So it's kind of ironic. The character models don't stand up, and because they used FMV scenes for the cutscenes, they couldn't go in and remake those characters, redesign them to look better in high definition like Square Enix has done in the other Kingdom Hearts games and the Final Fantasy high definition remakes. So the character designs look plain ugly. Take, for example, this guy. As you can see from this clip that I borrowed from my review of the original Kingdom Hearts Final Mix HD, you can see how they switched the models for the final bad guy in the original game. Well, plot spoilers, you encounter him again in Riku's mode. However, like I said, FMV, they weren't able to correct any of the models or even upgrade them to high definition that much. So here's what he looks like when you finally run into him.
If you are to serve me again.
Yeah, kind of a downgrade now, isn't it? So, in the end, the graphics for RE Chain of Memories just seem to suffer. The actual stages don't seem too bad. The battles aren't bad by any means, but when you get into these FMV cutscenes, just the drop in quality and just the character models now being outdated compared to what they did with the original, it just seems to be a disappointment all the way around, which is kind of unfortunate as this was meant to be an upgrade from the original GBA, and now you just see how cheaply made this game really is. Well, let's move on to the sound now, shall we? First, I'll start talking about the voice acting in the game. And good news, Haley Joel Osment returns to voice Sora in this second spin-off game.
Honestly, me too. One look at this castle, and I just knew.
Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds nothing like the voice of Sora in the original game.
Guys, let's go!
The change in the voice can be counted on the fact that Haley Joel Osment was a child star of Disney's when he recorded the first Kingdom Hearts. And 8 years passed between Kingdom Hearts and then this RE Chain of Memory game. So naturally his voice changed, and it changed a lot to where you can't even tell it's the same person doing the role. However, Sora has always been voiced by Haley Joel Osment, with the exception of Birth by Sleep, in which he was a small tot. So I just want to point that out because I've seen several professional reviews who have even said that it's not the same guy. Nope, Haley Joel Osment has always voiced the character, even when he's a lot older and it's kind of creepy. But I'll get into that when I review the POS that is recoded. But in the meantime, I should say David Gallagher, who does Riku, also has had his voice changed a lot. It's not quite as jarring as Sora's, because you can still tell it's the same guy, but his voice has changed a lot when you hear it. Other notable voices I should mention, though, would be probably Quentin Flynn, who did the voice of Cone on Bleach, playing Axel.
My show now, Keyblade Master. Who am I? Oh, my name's Axel. Got it memorized?
Axel is, of course, a fan favorite, mainly due to how Quentin Flynn has voiced the character. Now, I should also mention that another character from Final Fantasy VII, Reno, has been voiced in a lot of the Final Fantasy VII spin-offs by Quentin Flynn as well, and the two characters are very much related to each other in how they act and are voiced. You can definitely see that in the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete, which has more Reno in it. The game's music is similar to the way I would describe the graphics in this one. It doesn't hold up compared to the game that you just played in the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD remix, which is Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. In Final Mix, every musical score was carefully remixed and sounds great. And this one and RE Chain of Memories, none of this was done. If there are any remixes, for the most part, they're just being carried over from the last game because most of the worlds share the same music. Most of the new stuff wasn't remade at all, and worse, it's carried over from the Game Boy game, which used kind of simpler music whenever they need to express an emotion. For example, the Sinister music is kind of laughable. Yeah, laughably bad compared to how good the rest of the music is in the game. And while that fit the Game Boy Advance just fine, it did not sound good in the PS2, and it just seems pale compared to the remixes that you heard in the original game. So overall, the music is okay, but not great in RE Chain of Memories. Like I said, this is the budget game of the Kingdom Hearts series, and the HD remix does not fix this at all. Alright, it's time to talk about the number one thing in any video game, and that's its gameplay. Now, Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories and the original Chain of Memories kind of suffer from the same thing. It has a battle system that's kind of convoluted and very different from the rest of the series. I'm not saying it's not fun. It can be very fun once you get your mind wrapped around it. But hampering it is the tutorials. Most Japanese RPGs that have complex action battle systems usually slowly train you how to do the battle system and won't let you free until you get used to it. Kingdom Hearts ReCOM says, screw that. We're going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at you all at once, and we're not even going to tell you everything that the battle system has, nor will we allow you to go back and access it if you ever get confused. Hence why a lot of people really hate this game. And to make it matters worse, not only do they throw everything at you, whether or not you had a chance to really take it in or not, but they don't even tell you the whole battle system. They completely leave out premium cards, which are kind of important. You need a few in your deck to have a good deck, but too many can really screw up your deck. They don't tell you what they're for or what they're about except in the instruction booklet. And guess what? Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix doesn't have the instruction booklet. You've got to go look it up online now. This is a major flaw in the game. There is some good news though. If you can get past the game's flaws, especially in the tutorial where the game is supposed to teach you everything but doesn't and makes it confusing, if you can actually get your head around the battle system, and that's a major if, the game is actually pretty fun. The card system allows you to have some incredibly versatility when it comes to equipping Sora's movesets. The only other game I can think of that gives you that much flexibility in the amount of moves would be Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. This one's a little bit more convoluted than Birth by Sleep, but it's still very fun once you master the cards. But again, that's a major if. So how is the game played? Believe it or not, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories is more of a turn-based game than the action game that it appears to be up front. You see, you battle using those cards, and whoever has the highest cards gets to do their move, take their turn. If someone plays a higher card, the person who was attacking move is immediately canceled, and that person is actually stunned. So basically, you want to play higher cards than your enemies and hope they don't play higher cards than you. You will also have 0 cards, which will break any card, but can be broken in the next move. So those add in a little bit of strategy and defense. You don't want to put a lot of those in your deck, but you want to have 3 or 4 around, because 0 cards will also stop slights. So what are slights? Slights are special moves you can do by stockpiling cards. You do this by pressing triangle button on top of the card. These cards will be piled together, and their number will be the number that the enemy will have to break unless they play a 0 card when the move is done. If you do them in a certain order of a recipe that you have learned, you will do a special move. For example, once you learn Sonic Blade, you'll be able to do that move by stockpiling 3 Keyblade cards of different varieties each that equal between 20 to 23. Magic cards are usually a little easier to remember. You just have to get the right magic cards in the right order. For example, to do Lethal Frame, it's a stop card plus 2 attack cards, or Mega Flare is Mushu plus 2 fire cards. Now there is a cost for using slights. The first card used in the slight when you stockpile will disappear for the rest of the battle unless you use a special card like an elixir to bring it back, and elixirs are expensive to put in your deck. So you want to choose what cards you put in the slight wisely. Now those premium cards that I talked about that the instruction booklet doesn't cover work like this. The premium cards will go away after one use, whether you use them regularly or in a slight. So you want to turn cards that you begin a slight with into premium cards to lower the use of your deck. They're handy to have around, just don't turn every card into a premium card or else you're going to be screwed. And usually when I have people asking for help on message boards and stuff with this game, it's exactly what they did. I know I did it the first time through, because I didn't know better, because the game never told me not to do it. Time to talk about the worlds themselves. Now, I haven't really mentioned this yet, but in case you haven't figured it out from the video clips in the story, by going through Sora's memories, it means all the stages from the last game sans Tarzan. All the worlds in this game are a repeat from last, with the exception of one, Twilight Town, which was meant to preview something that was coming forward in Kingdom Hearts 2, and at the time it was kind of exciting. We didn't know Square Enix was planning on keeping us in Twilight Town for the first 3 hours of Kingdom Hearts in a rather slow and dull story, but at the time it was exciting, the new hub world for Kingdom Hearts 2. While the world themes and the characters that you meet in each world might be similar to the last, let me tell you, your progression isn't. Each floor is the same, however, you're allowed to pick the world theme for that stage using cards. What Disney World you go through will determine your Keyblade, summon cards, and other slights that you might learn from said world, so that's important too, even if the layout doesn't change. And you'll go through it by opening rooms using map cards. The idea is to progress through a little bit of a maze and hit 3 rooms that are gold color and use the special map cards that you get to open said rooms. Each room will contain a cutscene. Find all 3 rooms, and in the 3rd room is usually a boss. Beat that boss and the next world opens up to you. Repeat about 25 times in total. Once you clear a level and go up a floor, all the rooms in that world will close again, and you will have to use those map cards again if you want to reopen the doors to do some exploring. However, the only reason you'll have to go back to re-explore old levels is to use the Room of Rewards cards, which are not accessible for the first 5 or 6 floors. Other than that, once you're done with the stage, you're done with it. No side quests, no extra materials to collect, nothing. Well, I pretty much touched up on everything about RE Chain of Memories, from its frustrating card battle system, which is fun once you learn how to play it, but the tutorial sucks, so learning how to play it is almost impossible without a guide. So now I guess I should talk about Reverse Rebirth, since I mentioned it in the story and even shown a few clips. Reverse Rebirth unlocks after you finish RE Chain of Memories. It's basically Riku's mode, and in it you get to play as Riku. It has its own separate storyline that parallels Sora's journey through the castle. When you go up a level, you'll see a cutscene between the hooded bad guys that has something similar happening to Sora. And it's a pretty interesting way of telling a two-sided story with Riku getting the other side. His mode is also a little bit easier. Rather than 3 doors with these huge story expositions, most of his stages are just 1 room with just a boss fight. You have to go in and then walk out of each stage, killing the bosses as you go. You don't build a deck in this one. Each world has a predetermined deck. And because of that, it's really handy in learning just exactly what good deck combinations should look like. So basically, Riku's the best tutorial mode that this game has, and you don't unlock it until after you beat Sora's mode. Now you can understand why I get frustrated with this game. I do enjoy it, I'm one of its defenders, but at the same time there are just parts about it that you can't help but go square screwed up. I guess I would be a little bit negligent not to mention that RE Chain of Memories was in some ways the first Final Mix content we got from Japan. It does contain an extra boss that wasn't seen in the original Game Boy Advance mode in the battle with Zexion. In the Game Boy Advance mode, Riku just kind of beats him up and that's the end of the story. Here you have to fight him and oi, is he hard. He's basically Weevil Underwood of the Kingdom Hearts series. He doesn't like to fight people straight on. He's willing to cheat, and the way he kind of just poisons your deck and robs your deck makes him a very interesting boss battle. I usually get my butt kicked by him at least once or twice each time I play, but he is a fun boss. So what is my recommendation for RE Chain of Memories? Well, you're going to be getting it in the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD remix if you decide to pick it up. But here are my thoughts on it. I do love the game. I do enjoy the card battle system. I do enjoy the slides. I do enjoy going through the rooms that you can create. It is a really fun game. However, I can't ignore what made me go back for a second try was the second mode I unlocked. That's what taught me the game. The actual tutorial mode that's needed in the game doesn't come until after you've beaten the original game. The tutorial mode sucks so much that it skips over a whole bunch of features in the battle system that can either help or really screw you if you don't understand it. So I can't really recommend it. Another problem with this game, though, comes with the fact that while on the GBA exploring the original worlds from the first game was okay, seeing a PS2 game compressed to a Game Boy Advance was just fantastic. Then on the PS2, about 6 years later, the game was still pretty good because such a long time had passed, and seeing this for the first time in 3D was kind of helpful. However, now that it's right next to the original Kingdom Hearts in the same package, and it's a Final Mix version that's been remade and it's done so well, to just have a standard HD port of a budget game right next to it, it's kind of off-putting. You notice a huge step down when you choose RE Chain of Memories. It's not a bad game. I like it, but it's not as good as the original. The original Kingdom Hearts Final Mix and the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix is the gem of the collection. It is the game you're going to be playing the most. It is going to be the game you're going to enjoy the most. So, what's after Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories? Is it a small step up? Nope. Unfortunately, after RE Chain of Memories comes the most disappointing game in the collection. And I call it a game loosely. It's time to look at 358 over 2 days. So by all means, click the subscribe button and tune in a few days while I tear apart a terrible movie, game, cutscene, whatever it is. Whatever it is, it's pure crap. So I'll see you then. Also stay tuned, I'm creating a guide for RE Chain of Memories. It's a great game, and I hope to help get people to play it and understand it. So, like I said, click the subscribe button because there's plenty more Kingdom Hearts content that I plan on creating.